Well, hi again, everybody, and welcome to another episode of 100 Yards of Football with Brian LaBelle. I'm Harper LaBelle. We want to say thank you for joining us here for the Week 1 preview here for the National Football League. Brian's season number 106 is about to get started, but before we do that, we'd like to mention there are some faith works that are out there, and Faith with Works is one of the charity organizations that we would love for you to consider. Next time that you give, please just take a moment to try to help someone who directly can issue the assistance to someone in need. There will be a rally on September 15th, Friday, at Woodruff Park in downtown Atlanta, 91 Peachtree Street. It's just west of Grady Hospital, a little bit north and west of the Georgia State campus. Woodruff Park is where they will be gathering all the supplies that, if you can provide any of these, it would be great. What they need is first aid. They need towels. They need toothpaste. They need shampoo. They need baby wipes, water, toothpaste. Gift cards are absolutely fantastic for somebody to get a couple gallons of gas or to be able to go into a grocery store and to be able to shop and get things that they need. Non-perishable foods are also an item as well. 9 o'clock on Friday, September 19th at Woodruff Park, if you would like to help the Faith by Works by Janine, and more details will be available later. So thank you for that consideration the next time that you give. Brian, as I mentioned, the 106th National Football League season is about to start. We're grateful for it. We've been waiting quite a while, not much longer. Tomorrow evening will be the Thursday night game, and that will feature the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles, the Super Bowl champs. I think for a reason that this was a game that they were going to target. There would be a ring ceremony, everything else that you would want, but also there's plenty of drama over on the other side with the Dallas Cowboys. Let's talk about that first.
Yeah, I don't know if we talked about them enough, did we? Between them and Parsons? I don't know if we brought that up enough. But yeah, I mean, I would say this is about as bad an environment as you're going to go into. Because one, I mean, obviously, if you ask any Philadelphia fan, the team that they probably hate the most would be the Dallas Cowboys. So there's going to be a lot of animosity for them. There's going to be a lot of juice in the building, at least off rip, just because, it's a ring ceremony, right? You don't get a lot of these. This is one of those things. Sirianni tried to play it down yesterday, but you kind of don't take these for granted, kind of soak in the moment, appreciate it, especially because, I mean, there's a lot of guys on the roster, it's their first time winning one, so it means something.
Yeah.
But if you're Dallas, I think this is a show me kind of game. I know it's week 1 and everyone's going to be sloppy, and I'm going to reiterate that all throughout the show. Like, everyone's going to come out sloppy. A lot of these guys haven't taken but 3, 4, 5 reps during the preseason, and nothing really meaningful. Especially on Dallas's front, because there's the distractions they had, and it's back to football, right? It's away from all the Parsons stuff, which we guys picture up here. It's away from all that, and it's back to actual playing the game. It's a division game, right? It's a week 1 division game. Those are always interesting because I feel like those are the biggest coin flips on the season, regardless of who's better, who's favored, because anything can really go in those games. I'm interested to see how good the offense is, because even though, Parsons is gone and the defense obviously is going to suffer a little bit, the offense is still pretty explosive. They had George Pickens. A lot of people seem to be very, very high on Dak Prescott if he can stay healthy again. I'm interested to see how the Cowboys, I don't want to say respond, because it kind of feels like they got punched in the mouth, but they haven't played any meaningful football yet. It's more of an off the field. It's more of just a locker room presence is gone. And it's going to be interesting to see who steps up, who could be a leader, probably on the defense too, right? Who's going to anchor this defense now? Who's going to be the guy in the huddle?
You're not going to have this guy in the huddle anymore. And if I'm an Eagle, I'm not going to see this guy either. But I'm also not going to see this, right? I'm not going to see this guy complaining and arguing and fighting over a few extra dollars. And it's a massive amount of money, don't get me wrong. But he was already being paid pretty doggone well, and he wanted more, didn't get it. And so now we've got a situation where the team is going to move on. Any general manager, player personnel director, anyone in the building has to be prepared for if a guy goes down, or if something happens, if he goes to jail, or if he's not on the team, if he's sick and can't make it. And they did that. So they've got another guy, another edge rusher, outside linebacker in mind. But, what are they going to do against the Philadelphia Eagles? We don't know. That's going to be, a very interesting scenario. And you said it. I don't know either. That's my 3-word answer for everything. When my dad used to ask me, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? I go, I don't know. But I had to figure some things out. We don't know what these teams are going to look at because we haven't seen the starters for any amount of time in meaningful games against guys wearing different color uniforms. So you mentioned the sloppiness. I expect to see for the whole gambit a lot of penalties,
Yeah.
a lot of punting,
Hmm.
3 and outs. But we could also see, like in week one of the preseason, we could see plenty of 30, 40-point games. I don't know, and none of us
Right.
do. But you mentioned the Cowboys offensively. Um, I think it's a health issue. CeeDee Lamb, if he's healthy, he's the best receiver in the league. And if Dak can hit him, then it's a dangerous combination. Tight ends over the middle, their running game, a lot of the other portions of their offense are subject. But the Eagles' defense, they're built to stop all of that. And I don't see them stepping back at all, especially with the ring ceremony and the place ready to be going crazy anyways. And doing it
Yeah.
against the Cowboys, they don't need anything else to incentivize them.
Now, if you flip it, if you're the Cowboys, you could spoil it. If you win this game, if you can come out and maybe I'm not going to say blow them out, but maybe you win by 10. Maybe hey, we come out, we score 34 points, win 34-24, we win this game, and you spoil it. I think it's that much sweeter, and I think it kind of brushes off all the Parsons stuff. I think it pushes you away from it, but. I mean, that's tough to do. These guys are very, very good. And with all the adrenaline rushing, everything going on in that, I mean, it's going to be electric tomorrow for them. So I don't have it in front of me, but I don't think teams on the road have fared well over the last few seasons when it comes, because now, they do this every year, right? Where the Super Bowl winning team hosts the Thursday nighter, you get the opener, whatever. I don't know the record. I know it's been the Chiefs a lot, right? But I don't think there's been a lot of winning from the road teams in these scenarios, but I mean, because it's very tough to do. But I'm interested to see. It's, if anything, it's a litmus test. Even if the Cowboys don't win,
Yeah.
how much do they lose by, right? Is it a close game? Is it a 24-21? Is it something where they were in it until the end and maybe you have just a slip up or something happens or someone in Philadelphia makes a great play? Because you have a lot of that, right? You got Saquon, you got AJ Brown, you got Jalen Hurts, you got Devontae, so they got a plethora of guys that are really, really good.
Do you
That's why
think
they're on the Super
do you
Bowl.
think Mike McCarthy shows the Falcons at Eagles Monday night game from last year as just a little bit of a, you know what, we're going up against a lot of things. Just watch how this team does it. Just play your game, guys.
I don't know how. I don't know if there's anything specifically that you would show, but it's just sort of like that could be something, because hey, that was one of the only times where anybody was able to go into that building and win.
Right.
It's a tough thing to do. It's a very tough environment. It's a very
Yeah.
tough place to play. Now, I will say, if there's a team equipped for it, if there's a team used to it, it's Dallas, right? Because they got a lot of guys that have been there for a while and they understand what, hey, this is what the crowd's going to be like. There's going to be some language from the kids in the stands that you're going to kind of be shocked at first, but you kind of get used to it the second, third, fourth time you're in the building. I think, again, it's an opener. It's a division game. The Eagles could come out sloppy as heck too. I wouldn't be surprised if you see some of these penalties, some of this pre-snap stuff where you're saying, hey, Jalen's got to get everybody right. But that takes time. Those take reps. Like we said earlier, no one's got any reps. So we don't know yet. Obviously, they're returning most of their guys from a championship team. So whenever you can do that, you're going to be favored. But I'm interested in this game a lot just because it's the first official NFL game that we're going to have on the season, but also just see where I think week one is going to be a lot of see where we're at, right? See how far behind we are, see how sloppy the offense is, see how much catching up we need to do to get to a mid-season form.
What's the over under on how many times a Cowboy fan wearing a blue jersey in that stadium gets hit with a hot dog wrapper in the back of the head? Just the back of it.
Yeah, that or how many
Aside.
times they show them,
Yeah.
sad or happy or whatever it would be. I don't know. Again, it's a very hostile crowd, right? You ask anybody, it's just a
I've been there.
hostile crowd.
They're hostile when they're ahead at halftime. I know it. I've been there and experienced it firsthand. Well, speaking of over under, how many times are we going to see Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce and what's the over under on how many times if she's at the game? Which, by the way, is called Corinthians Arena in Sao Paulo, Brazil.
Yeah.
The NFL is expanding. They've been in Brazil before. They've gone to Mexico. They've always been in Europe. There are games all across the world now. It seems that they're trying to at least expand the brand and let other people get exposed to it. The other Super Bowl participant and multi-champion Kansas City Chiefs travel to the LA Chargers for a game that's about 4,000 miles away from where the Chargers play at SoFi Stadium.
Yeah, this is one of those things. It's unfortunate for the Chargers. Like you said, it's not really a home game, right? They don't really get to host it. It's a neutral site game. Honestly, there might be fewer Kansas City fans here than there would have been at home, though. So it's tough to, it's home field advantages, whatever. It's one of these situations where I think it's a very cool experience. I think both teams would agree to that. They, just to be the primetime game on a Friday and get to go to another country and play. I know it being week 1 is a lot better than having to go play in London. Week 8. I know a lot of guys probably dread having to get on a plane and go to London, then come back and having to get back in your routine. But I'm interested to see. And this is another one of those games because the Chiefs are going to be without Rashee Rice. He's suspended, obviously, but without him last year, the second half, Mahomes' numbers weren't as good. I mean, Kelsey played better. Everyone else kind of, benefited from Rashee Rice being out. But it's interesting to see where the Chiefs are at, because they're always one of those teams that whenever you mention favorites out of the AFC, they're always going to be there as long as Mahomes is at quarterback, as long as they got Andy Reid. It's just been a clinic of consistency from them. And the Chargers are in a position now where, okay, they've added some talent. They were a playoff team last year. It's kind of time if you're a Chargers fan, like, hey, we got Justin Herbert under contract. We got all these guys. Like, it's kind of time. Like, we need to beat these dudes, right? We need to beat Kansas City. I'm tired of losing these guys. And they're the talk of the town. They're the top of the division. Now the Broncos are kind of creeping up, and they're a team that a lot of people like too. The Chargers I think this is a big statement game for them. I think if they could pull out a win, it's a coin flip for me just because like I said, it's a neutral site. Some guys maybe don't travel really well, especially for that distance for a game like this. But I like we said earlier, again, a lot of it is just Patrick Mahomes threw one pass the whole preseason. So I don't know where he's at. Justin Herbert, I don't think he threw any. So it's wait and see.
Yeah, it's kind of like, okay, in practice, we're going to simulate what we experience or want to experience, but there's some unknowns, intangibles like, someone gets food poisoning while they're down there, or they're not feeling well anyways, and the travel, it takes a toll on them. The field surface, it seems that inevitably there's always a problem just 30 minutes before game time where some of the players walk out on the field and they go, hey, this feels terrible. We don't have any footing or anything like that. And then obviously compound that with the unknowns of how both offenses and defense are doing. But Kansas City seems to always find a way to play good enough defense to make it very, very difficult for anybody. When they lose, they don't ever get blown out. It's a close game, and I don't see it being much different there. But obviously that is a big consideration. All right, then it's Sunday. There's a host of 1 o'clock games, Brian. There's 8 of them. So let me give you 2 at a time. Tampa Bay, Atlanta, Cincinnati, Cleveland. Any of those of interest to you?
I think I'll start with them. I think Cincinnati's obviously going to be favored. I think they're going to win the game, but I'm interested to see where the defense is at, right? If there was a team that the Cincinnati Bengals could handpick, if they could go to Roger Goodell and say, hey, this is who we want week 1 to kind of warm up and get loose and get prepared, it would probably be the Cleveland Browns, right? I think that's the team that everyone, maybe them or New Orleans, would be the consensus pick. Like, hey, let us play these guys first to kind of get our footing. Burrow and Chase and those guys, they played, I think, more so than anyone else in the preseason, right? So I think they should be ready to go more so than anybody else, just based on reps. They look pretty decent. It's been interesting, though, because Cincinnati's been a team that's been very slow out of the gate since their Super Bowl year. They've been a team that just they can't get it going in the first couple weeks of the season for whatever reason, whether you got injuries or contract disputes, whatever it's been. So I'm curious to see how they come out of the gate. I think they'll win the game. I don't have high expectations for Cleveland. I think they're one of the teams that's probably going to be in the top 2 or 3 as far as the draft. So they're going to be looking quarterback. I know they're probably not too happy watching the Arch Manning tape this week, but I like Cincinnati a lot in this game.
Hold on. They just picked 2 quarterbacks. They've got 8 or 9 of them still in the room. Is Cleveland still looking for that guy? I imagine the answer is going to be an inevitable yes. They want Arch Manning too. They're going to give up another couple of draft picks to the quarterback position.
Eventually, something's got to stick, right? I mean, I don't know. A lot of people are really high on Shador, Dylan Gabriel. I think both guys could be fine NFL quarterbacks, right? I'm not sitting here and I'm not going to knock those guys, but I think if you're talented enough, I think if you're on a team, especially like Cleveland, where expectations are 0, and you don't have a lot of talent on the roster, and you're still 3rd or 4th on the depth chart, I think there's an issue there. So guys can obviously develop, things happen, but I don't know how many more years Joe Flacco is going to be slinging it, and how many more times a team like Cleveland or Indianapolis can give him a call and say, hey, come save our season, so we don't lose every game. But Yeah, we'll see what happens. Even if they don't go, even if they don't go Arch, right? They're going to be, I think, near the top of the draft, anyways. But I realistically, I think if a guy like Arch Manning, or if there's a quarterback there they fall in love with, I don't see why not.
If I'm in Cincinnati, my whole purpose in life is to keep Joe Burrow upright. If I'm in Cleveland, it's like, can we please just score some points? If I'm Myles Garrett and I'm thinking, gosh, give me something to play for, because it doesn't look like we may be able to score a heck of a lot of points, and it's going to make it even harder on the defense. Am I out of my mind by thinking that, Cleveland's offensive woes can also contribute to the defense not being as good? They are talented. They are loaded defensively, but they're not as motivated because they know that the chance of their offense scoring more than 14 points in a game is not always there.
Yeah, I think you're always kind of supposed to be. I mean, this is your job, right? So you show up for work, you do everything you possibly can. But I mean, this is a defense of the last couple of years has really had to carry a lot of the load because they've lost a lot of talent on offense. I mean, the Watson situation, which still seems like yesterday, it's still he's still part of the team. He's still on the roster. They're still paying him. It's still ongoing, but it's just kind of been a mess. I mean, I think you could see. I don't want to say heart because I think that gets thrown out there a lot, but this defense does a good job of keeping them in games, right? It goes from saying, hey, this game maybe they could have lost by 3 or 4 scores, they only lose by 10, they only lose by 8, right? The defense gives them a chance. And as long as you got Myles Garrett, I know we talked a lot about Micah Parsons, whatever. Myles Garrett recently got paid, and I think he is in the argument. If you were to say best defensive players, I think he's I think he's probably at most.
He's on the podium. He's getting the
2.
medal.
Yeah.
He may not win the gold or the silver, but you're giving him something as one of the best players in the league.
And again, he's one of the guys, he makes everybody around him better, right? Because he commands a double team.
Yeah.
He demands extra attention. He demands, hey, we can't really throw these quick hot routes to the running back if pressure comes because he's got to chip the defensive end. It's Myles Garrett, right? You can't leave a tackle one-on-one. Sure. And, hey, offensive line has been a woeful issue for the Bengals since Burrow's been there, right? Hey, it's been a struggle to keep him upright. And, going up against a guy like Myles Garrett obviously isn't something you necessarily want to do when you got your, $50 million a year quarterback who you're trying to protect. But I think it's interesting. Again, it's one of those things, a division game, right? It's kind of a toss-up because you just never know with the division games. Teams hate each other. They see each other twice a year. There's only so many different things that Chase and Burrow and Higgins and these guys can do that the Browns haven't seen. And obviously the inverse is true with Cincinnati, but it's going to be interesting. I think Cincinnati's interesting for me more so week 1 just because they got reps, right? They got more reps than anybody else. They came out and they said, hey, we sucked the first month of the season the last couple of years. Let's come out in the preseason. Let's get our reps in. Let's try to change that.
Miami is at Indianapolis, also Las Vegas. The Raiders go to New England. I'm gonna volunteer to talk about that one just a little bit. I think it's going to be intriguing. Pete Carroll going to the Raiders. I don't know much about them. There's talk about their offense and Bowers and new quarterback and whatever. But Vrabel has me interested. I don't think they're playoff ready yet, especially to take on the Bills. But I think he's going to have them to be a surprise team that's going to be very, very difficult to beat. You got to really play, I would think, a top-rated game against them. What's your thought here on this one?
I mean, there's a lot of hype around Drake May. I think they've added a lot of talent as well. More so depth, not necessarily like jump at you kind of names. The running back room is pretty decent. Their tight end room is pretty good. There's a lot of different things with, I think, the defense too. Vrabel's more of a defensive guy, right? He's a Belichick disciple, so that's what they're going to try to do. They're going to try to play defense, but it's another one of those things where you can talk about all offseason. There could be a lot of hype. There can be a lot of intrigue surrounding a team, but until they come out week 1, like we said, and kind of put all the stuff on paper and translate onto the field, we won't really know much. I like Drake May. I think he's a pretty good quarterback. I think most teams will go as their quarterback goes. The Raiders have a new quarterback situation. I think they got a lot of talent too. At least they improved from last year, which wasn't too difficult to do. But I think this is I think obviously Patriots should be favored in this game, but I'm intrigued with the Raiders. I like Brock Bowers. I like Ashton Jeanty. I think I don't think he's going to I think he's going to have to adapt a little bit. I don't think he's going to be able to just touch the ball 40 times like he did at Boise State and run all over people because you're not going up against New Mexico State anymore. You're going up against the New England Patriots. It's going to be a little bit different, but I think he's got a ton of talent. The offense is a little bit improved. The defense is a little bit improved on the Raiders side. Pete Carroll coach teams. They usually got a good bit of fight in them, even if they're underdogs, whatever it might be. They usually kind of rise to the occasion. And even if they're maybe, at a talent discrepancy, I think they still play really, really well. I think this is going to be an interesting, Vrabel versus Carroll is kind of a very interesting dynamic. I think both teams kind of want to do the same thing, run the ball, play defense, which is, hey, it's perfect for a week one matchup, right? That's how you come out the gate.
Arizona is at New Orleans. I think New Orleans is still a hot mess. They're not quite where they need to be. And if we never know if Kyler Murray is going to play and get 400 yards or if he's going to get 125. But let's look at this one just a little bit. Steelers at the Jets. Jets have had some issues for obvious reasons over the past couple of years. They have a hurdle in the Patriots, obviously the Bills and the Dolphins. But Aaron Rodgers makes his debut here now for the Steelers. Give me your thoughts on this.
It's kind of a weird homecoming, because I feel like Rodgers' tenure in New York was very, very short, disappointing. But
does anyone want to watch it because he was a Jet last year? Anyone? Or the last 2 years? Anyone?
I don't know if anyone cares for that. I'm intrigued to see how he fits into this offense, because it's Rodgers is new. It's his first time working with Arthur Smith. It's a new offense. DK Metcalf is new. So it's and they didn't have a lot of preseason reps. They didn't really. The timing stuff is all practice, right? Most of it's in shorts. Is what we're going to be doing as far as what we can build off of what we've seen on tape, what we have. It's just what
and Arthur Smith is a run first guy, and I think Rodgers will like that. But then again, he's going to put the ball in the air. Why would you bring him in if you're not going to throw the ball on first and second down?
Yeah, I think Pittsburgh's defense is still very, very stout, right? As long as Mike Tomlin's the head coach there, that has been the mantra for that team for 50 years now. We're going to play really good defense. We're going to run the ball, which they got a pretty good running back group. I like Caleb Johnson. I like Jalen Warren. I think the offensive line has been kind of meh. I think that's part of the reason why we didn't see Najee Harris was a guy. He was an absolute workhorse for him, but he was sub 4 yards per carry in most instances. It was a struggle. They couldn't score a lot of points. I don't think they really like their quarterback room. I think if nothing else, Rodgers brings you kind of an easy sort of veteran presence that allows you to say, okay, we can have a guy here that's not going to lose us the game, and I think that's sort of what the Steelers kind of had, because even Roethlisberger, there were times where he didn't have to play all that well. This is back when they were really successful. Hey, 2 touchdowns, 220 yards, give us a chance to win, right? That's all we need. That's it. Don't turn the ball over. Give us a chance to win. I think Aaron Rodgers absolutely at this stage in his career can embody that. It's kind of a change from what we're used to him, what we expect from him. Because this is a guy who's multiple-time MVP. He was up there in conversations with Brady and Breeze and Manning every single year. It's like, hey, look at Aaron Rodgers, and it was almost more impressive than Manning and Breeze because he's doing it in Lambeau Field. He's doing it outdoors in the NFC North, where the defenses were a little, stiffer, but. Those days are gone. It's kind of, if there's a guy getting his ear and say, hey, I don't need you to be Superman, right? I need you to be Clark Kent today. I just need you to show up for work and just, take some pictures, report to the news, and don't turn it over. Help us win the game, especially against the Jets, right? This is a very winnable game for them. This would be a good 1-0 start for them if they can jump out to that.
Yeah, and 3rd and 4, any team in the league, you're going to go to the playoffs if you can convert on 3rd and 4. You got to be able to do that. All right, next game that we're going to look at, there's a choice of New York. The Giants are going to Washington, which I'd like to talk about, or you want to talk about the Cats, Carolina and Jacksonville?
We talk about both of them. I think there's intrigue in both those games.
What about the sophomore slump? Is Jaden Daniels going to have to listen to that for at least the first 5 or 6 weeks of the season if he's not throwing for 300 yards a game?
Well, he was on fire last year. He had I don't know if it's necessarily a sophomore slump for him. It might just kind of be a return to reality.
Well, if he's not on fire, that's what I'm saying. If he throws for 203 yards and 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, I expect to hear all kinds of critiques about him from everybody except for Dan Quinn.
Yeah. Well, I think one thing we do is when guys come out and they play really, really well, we're very, very quick to jump on that bandwagon, right? It's become expectations, right? In that Washington team, if you remember last year, there were not a lot of expectations going into the season. If you were to say, hey, who's your NFC championship pick, right? I don't know if there's a person outside of the Washington fan base who said
right? You're going to say
Yeah,
Detroit, San Francisco, maybe Seattle. You're going to talk about
Philadelphia,
the Eagles
maybe.
and Tampa
Yeah,
Bay. Yeah.
yeah. No, nobody had it, but they made it, right. They did. And even though they got beat up by Philadelphia, they had 2 games the regular season where they played with the Eagles, right? That's the team that's the talk of the town. We talked about them earlier, defending champs. How can Dallas respond? But Seattle or Washington's kind of in that same boat as far as how they can come out. It's a division game, get up early on the division. New York's kind of a mess with Russell Wilson again. It's like an Aaron Rodgers situation. Let's just bring a guy in, don't lose us the game, right? Let's just manage it, give us a couple touchdowns, give our defense, which New York's got a pretty solid defense. Their front four is as good as anybody in the league right now.
Yeah.
So give us an opportunity to win the game. The offensive line is a little improved. I'm sure they're going to love to run the football. Tyrone Tracy is a guy who last year kind of came on late. He was decent for them, a bright spot on a team that, let's just be honest, didn't have very many, right? So I don't know if we'll see Jackson Dart at any point this year outside of Russell Wilson getting injured, which you never know. But I think this is a game where Washington doesn't have to come out and I don't need Jaden Daniels to throw for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns, right? If he gives me 275 and the completion percentage is up there, we're able to run the ball well and play defense, I think Washington can win this game pretty easily, and I think they can kind of continue the trend on from last year.
Well, the same fans that say Ray must go might also we want Jackson, or Russell must go if he has 2 incompletions in a row. I think it'll be very short, the leash, if Russell does not perform, and it could happen. I don't think it'll happen in this game because it's going to be in Washington, but there may be a home game in week 3, 4, 5 that
rumblings, right?
If they don't look good, they might just say, put this kid in. We want to see what he can do. And that'll be a very interesting scenario. Let's look at the Cat game, Carolina at Jacksonville. Is this finally going to be the same offensive line woes that we mentioned with, Joe Burrow, or maybe even with Aaron Rodgers? If the offensive line can keep Trevor Lawrence upright, I think I've got a chance.
It's interesting that we don't talk as much about Trevor Lawrence, right? Like, we have all these pressure on all these different quarterbacks. Like, we talk about Bryce Young, who on the other side, there's a ton of pressure on Bryce Young this year, right? Like, is he the guy? He's been benched. He's been, we've had to shuffle him around. Can he lead this Panthers team? Or are they going to have to move on? And I think part of that is just because of how much they gave up for him, right? How much they gave the Chicago Bears for the rights to draft Bryce Young. Trevor Lawrence has been underwhelming, at least for me. And I know, obviously, the team has kind of been, obviously, not that stout over the last few seasons. They've kind of shuffled running backs, wide receivers in and out. They go and they get Travis Hunter, who I don't know if he's their number one. I don't know how many reps he's going to play on offense. I don't know how many reps he's going to play on defense, because, again, it's week 1, so we don't really know what the game plan is for the Jaguars. But they have 2 guys at running back they like. I don't know who the bell cow is. I don't know if ETN is the guy right now or Bigsby's the guy. They've shuffled some coaching stuff around. It's a lot of questions for both of these teams. I think this is a winnable game on both sides. I think this is one of the few games where, for me, it's a toss-up. I think Jacksonville being at home has an advantage. But I think, for me, Trevor Lawrence, I got to see something, right? I need to see that progression if he wants to be one of those guys, because I've seen it from Justin Herbert. Even Bo Nix last year, as his rookie season was fantastic. I haven't really seen a lot of flash from Trevor Lawrence. Now I think some of that is the talent discrepancy, right? I would say he doesn't have the best wide receiver room. I'd say the tight end situation is okay. They lose their leading receiver at tight end last year. They bring in a guy, Brenton Strange, who I think could be decent for them. But Brian Thomas Jr. was fantastic. Product out of LSU. They finally get him. He has a great year. So I'm interested to see the expectation, because I don't really love the division that the Jaguars are. I don't like the South that much, other than the Texans, and they were underwhelming last year. So I think if you're a Jaguars fan, I need to see something for Trevor Lawrence. I need him to step up. I need to be one of those guys that, when you're looking at it on the schedule and you see the Jaguars, hey, we got to circle it. We got to be ready for number 16.
I think he's been surprisingly average throughout his career, where I think the expectations, the national championships, the attempts there with Clemson, is just going to naturally carry over. No, you got to protect your quarterback. It doesn't matter where you are, and that's been an interesting surprise for me. But you mentioned Bo Nix. Broncos get to host against Tennessee Titans. Simple game for me. I think this is the first of the 4 o'clock games, and just play well at home. Would you have the same strategy if you're Sean Payton? Just, hey, don't lose it, right? Don't do anything stupid. We've got a good enough defense, and we can run the ball. Just get a couple 3rd and 5 conversions, and you're going to give us a chance to at least get a field goal and a win.
Well, that's a tough place to go play. Denver's a very difficult place to go play, and I know Cam Ward, the Titans, he won the starting job. They believe in him a lot. I think for this year, expectations are let's stay healthy, let's improve. Right? I want week 1 to be. I want to watch the film from week 1 going into week 12, week 13, week 14. Say, hey, not even the same guy. Right? I want it to be leaps and bounds. I just wanted to improve. If you're Tennessee right now, because listen, you're the first overall pick in the draft. They're not very good, right?
You blitz him wildly at the beginning to just make his hair want to fall out? Because
I think, well, they got enough talent on that defense. They can kind of do whatever they want. But yeah,
they may not have to. That's the thing. They may save it for another team, but I think they're going to put everything in for them.
Again, listen, you got to play to win the game, right? It doesn't really matter who the opponent is on the other side. I think if you're Denver right now, I think I'm not sure what the spread is right now, but they're probably maybe close to double-digit favorites just because, again, this is a team that a couple years ago, they were dead in the water, right? The Broncos were. With the Russell Wilson situation, they didn't have picks, they didn't have any cap space, and now they're one of the favorites in the AFC, right? A lot of people think they can compete with the Chiefs and maybe potentially sneak away with the division. That's how good they are.
8.5, Brian. The line is 8.5.
Is it 8.5? Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you have a rookie quarterback, first start on the road, that's going to be really, really tough. First start on the road with a defense like Denver is going to be even more so. It's going to be a challenge. Now, if Cam Ward can hold his own, I'll be impressed, right? Maybe they don't win the game, but if he can say, hey, he looked decent, right? Because the receiving room outside of Calvin Ridley isn't great. It isn't. The running back core wasn't great last year. The offensive line is average. There's not a ton that you look at the Tennessee Titans are doing really, really well at this point. And hey, that's why they're the first overall pick last year.
A team like Denver and a crowd like Denver. It'll be a tough one for him. All right, let's look at the other divisional rival here where you got San Francisco going up. And speaking of crowds, the originators of the wave, the Seattle Seahawks. New look Seahawks, I'm not sure. New quarterback, that's for doggone sir. Is San Francisco healthy enough to at least talk about? They go, hey, they got a chance if they're healthy. Are they healthy enough to have a chance?
This could be a weird game. It's an NFC West game that features Cooper Kupp for the first time, where he's not going to be wearing an LA Rams uniform.
Right.
I think it's about as close as you can get as far as rivalries go, as far as keeping the same sort of mentality, the same sort of play style. I'm interested to see, because this is really the first time we're not going to have to hear about how minuscule Brock Purdy's $900,000 contract is, right? Finally got paid. So we're not going to have to hear about, oh man, he's poverty level, right? We don't have to hear that anymore. But Deebo Samuel's gone. Brandon Ayuk's injured. Is Christian McCaffrey going to be healthy enough to contribute? Because remember last year going in, we didn't know that he was unhealthy and not ready to play until about 30 minutes before kickoff on the Monday night game.
Can he finish a ball game? And what about Williams? There were a lot of problems in San Francisco's lineup last year. They only won 6 games. And if they only win 6 this year, is Kyle Shanahan's job in jeopardy? We'll be hearing more about that lately. But if they are where they need to be, this is a very dangerous team that Shanahan and Lynch have put together. They're capable of winning the Super Bowl, but at least getting to one and defending the NFC crown, which they used to do regularly.
I will say this: 6 games last year for what this team went through seems like a miracle, right? You lose your best player. Deebo, Brandon Ayuk, you have contract disputes. You don't know what you're going to do with him. You end up paying the guy, and then he gets hurt immediately, right? And then he tears his knee. So now, and he does it late in the year. San Francisco is one of those teams that have talent, but it seems like 5, 6, 7, 8 different guys from the original starting 22 aren't going to be there once week 10, week 12, week 14 roll around. It's just kind of been the case since they last went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, Seattle's very interesting because you had Cooper Kupp, Sam Darnold, who was phenomenal for them last year. Geno Smith wasn't bad either.
No.
That whole moving on from Geno Smith was kind of interesting. I don't know if maybe you look at Darnold and you want to get a little younger, or what the deal was there. Maybe they just think he fits the offense better. But Geno's gone. Jackson Smith-Njigba, who's a guy who was very high on last year, he took a massive leap forward. He was one of the top guys in the league as far as catches, as far as touchdowns. He did everything really, really well for them. They still have that 2-headed monster at at running back, it's kind of fizzled out. I don't know if it's a two-headed monster anymore, but offensive line is a little question mark for me there. The Seattle Seahawks usually play pretty good defense. Again, this is another one of those things, a division game, right? There's a lot of this one could go either way. There's a lot of animosity there. Not a lot of reps in the preseason for either of these teams. It could go either way, right? But I'm interested to see how San Francisco plays without Ayuk, without Deebo Samuel. How many carries is Christian McCaffrey going to get? And then obviously for me, it's Sam Darnold. How are they going to ease him into the offense, the new offense with new receivers and new scheme and everything? He's got to figure that out. And this is really his first true test live against another team going full speed.
Well, this next one here, this is going to be a battle. I'm going to finish mowing the lawn early so I can watch a little bit of this game. The Green Bay Packers get to host the Detroit Lions. Dan Campbell has said he's going to bite your kneecaps off. He's got a tougher team. They had some injuries, obviously, last year. If the one that I have the most fun with is if you worked at Foot Locker or at a car wash, there's a chance that you would be getting a call if you'd ever played football before, and the Lions would have you starting on Sunday. Healthy Lions going against a automatically favored now to not only win the division, but to get to the NFC Championship game, Green Bay Packers.
Well, is there a better first test if you're Micah Parsons than this offensive line, right? Like, is he going to be lining up against Penei Sewell consistently throughout this game? And on the flip side, if you're the Lions, is there a better test for them week one than having this defensive front with the Green Bay Packers? Because I don't know if there's a better one they'll play all season.
This is a super
I think it's
the way this was scheduled, Brian. To me, this is one of the best of the. We scheduled this one on purpose. There's reason during the offseason, if you're on either team, to say let's do an extra rep. Let's go. Let's do some extra running and conditioning to get ready for those guys.
Yeah, I mean it's. I think right now, the Bears, I just don't think are there yet. I like Minnesota's talent. I'm just not all that high on JJ McCarthy as of now because, again, he's basically a rookie. I haven't really seen much from him from Michigan. And there was a point during his Michigan tenure where they went almost a full game and a half where they barely threw the football. They said, look, we'll run it. We don't really need taking the ball out of a guy's hands like that. To me, it's a little bit of a red flag, but I think he's got the arm strength. I think he's got the talent. I think he's got the receiving core too. I know Addison's not going to be active for this game as he serves a 3-game suspension. They trade for Adam Thielen. They bring him back. The Vikings got two pretty good running backs. The offensive line is a gigantic question mark. Or excuse me, I'm sorry. We're talking about the wrong team. As far as the Lions go, I like Goff. Yeah. Sorry. I like Goff a lot. They got the two-headed running back with Gibbs and Montgomery. I think one thing last year, if you look at all the injuries and everybody that had to play, everybody that got reps for the Lions, it plays well into this year because you get guys that are ready, right? Maybe guys that I don't need to play 40 snaps in a game, but if you can give me 15, maybe it's not one of those situations where you want them out all that much, but you feel more confident in a lot of these guys that you had thrown out there just because, again, guys would go down and you had people just thrown in the fire, right? Aiden Hutchinson was leading the league in sacks, and then he breaks his leg, and now all of a sudden, they still won that division. They still won a lot of football games. They still maintained. Dan Campbell and that crew did a great job. Just kind of saying next man up, which I know it's the old cliche, it's the mantra, right? Like, oh, you have to believe it, it's the next man guy. But they really did that. And until they played a team like Washington, who was the third or fourth best team in the league, it didn't really there weren't really any holes that you could see. They weren't really exposed until that playoff game in Detroit. Green Bay, they got a ton of talent at wide receiver. I think Matthew Golden's the number one, but they got 3 or 4 guys that are, very solid number 2 receivers. Tucker Kraft was flash in the pan for them last year. He was phenomenal at the tight end position. I think their offensive line is stout. Josh Jacobs, overlooked guy, right? When we talk top running backs, everyone talks about Bijan, you talk about Gibbs, you talk about Barkley, but Josh Jacobs has been very, very good for a handful. He was the anchor for a Raiders team that was abysmal, right? And he still put up his numbers. I wouldn't be surprised if, I don't want to say it's week 1, obviously, but you have a lot of implications for the division in this one because I think as of right now, these are the 2 teams that are, not just in the NFC North, but just home field advantage too, right? This is a head-to-head game, and these are 2 teams that are going to be playing to say, hey, we want to host games in December and January.
Yeah, completely agree. Let's move on to Houston. Goes to the Rams. Stafford, having missed most of the preseason, will start in this one. And, the Rams can be very dangerous. Love their coaching staff. Also, Houston and C.J. Stroud, and whether or not we're going to get to see a repeat performance out of him. But let's go directly to the evening game that I think is another one. I'm going to make sure the lawn is mowed early and then do it so that I can finish and watch this one. Baltimore at the Bills. This has meant something between these two cities for the last 5 or 6 years.
I will say this. We talk about the Bills and Josh Allen not being able to beat Kansas City, right? Well, it's kind of the same thing for Baltimore and these guys. Hey, when are we going to beat these guys in the playoffs? When are we going to knock these guys off, right? Because head to head, Buffalo's been pretty good against Baltimore. They've kind of held their own. Derrick Henry to me, I know we talk about Lamar Jackson, and these are the two quarterbacks. Both these guys, either one of them could have won MVP. I know it was Josh Allen, but I think both of these guys, I think they're 1A and 1B as far as the best quarterback in the league right now, just based on production, just based on just kind of wow factor too, right? You turn on the game, you watch them. You've seen it, you've seen them do it before, but you still kind of open your eyes a little bit and kind of, you're taken aback by, wow, a guy, someone can do something like that, even on the NFL stage. But Derrick Henry's longevity is incredibly impressive to me. What he was able to do when he comes to Baltimore, he doesn't even seem to skip a beat, right? It's almost like he's getting better as time goes on.
He looks just as fast now, and people they can't tackle him. You can't arm tackle him, and they're chasing him down the field just like they were 8 years ago. It's crazy.
Now, this is interesting too. Both these teams love to run the football, right? They both have mobile quarterbacks. They both got pretty good running back groups. James Cook had a phenomenal year last year for the Bills. This almost feels like one of those triple option games in college where this one might be over pretty quickly, right? Because both teams are going to try to run the ball. Both teams are going to try to control the line of scrimmage. If we're having to drop back and pass 40 times, we're probably in a bad spot. I don't think Buffalo wants to do that. I think they want to establish the run, control the game up front, control the clock. And Buffalo's been a little bit better at doing that.
Hold on. Real quick. Hold on. You said this game could be over quickly, not because it's a blowout, just because they're running the ball so much. The time will expire.
Clock,
and it's going to be a 2 hour and 25-minute game. Is that kind of what you meant?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I think this because again, both teams, they want to run the ball. That's their identity. That's their style. I think both teams obviously can throw the football. I mean, both of these guys are 40 touchdown guys, right? Yeah. As far as passing, but again, with it being a week 1 game too, I'm not expecting a lot of highlights as far as the passing game is concerned. I think if your defense is giving up a lot of big plays, I think maybe time to reevaluate after that this early in the season. But because the way it is the offenses are going to come out and they got to catch up, and then they'll adapt. They say, okay, this is what the defenses are doing. This is how we beat them. The defense is responding back. You know what I mean? It's chess. That's what it is. You got to be able to respond back and forth. But both of these teams got a ton of talent. The defenses are solid too. Kyle Hamilton might be my favorite player. He's kind of he got paid this offseason. He might be he was my favorite players coming out in his draft class. He was phenomenal at Notre Dame. He's been phenomenal for Baltimore. He's just he's gonna be a guy to watch in this game to see kind of the chess match between him and Josh Allen. But I like both these teams, and I would be surprised if these teams are playing again in January or February.
Yeah, they've shown that they can do it over and over and over again. Well, let's do the final game that we're going to look at, the Monday night game. It'll be in Chicago, and the Bears have been kind of nibbling year after year. We're going to get a little bit better. We're going to get a little bit better. We're going to get a little bit better. But are they good enough to be able to compete in the division? We got about 2 minutes.
They added a ton of talent. Luther Burden is a kid they drafted. I'm very high on him. I think he's a phenomenal wide receiver. They go and they get Colston Loveland to add to a tight end room that already has Cole Kmet, who's been fantastic. They add some guys on the offensive line. They get some depth. They improve a little bit. I'm the only problem with this Bears team, I'd be higher on this Bears team, is the division they play in, right? We talked about the Packers and the Lions earlier. They're just their rosters are maybe 1 and 2 in the NFC, right? If you go top to bottom, how good they are from the quarterback to the kicker, they're spectacular. The Vikings have a ton of talent. Rookie quarterback is we kind of touched on that earlier. Is the one question mark I have for JJ McCarthy? How well is he going to play? He's got a pretty good room. You got Thielen. Addison's out the first 3 weeks, but I think once he comes back, he kind of opens up a little bit more so. And then, this Justin Jefferson guy they got is pretty good. TJ Hawkinson. They got Jordan Mason, who was fantastic with the 49ers when Christian McCaffrey got hurt. Aaron Jones, who's been very, very solid for them. The big question mark for me, though, is if you watch that playoff game against the Rams last year, they got bullied up front. Sam Darnold was in duress the whole game. It was a problem. It's something that the Bears, obviously, they're going to watch film on that. They're going to be chomping at the bits because they got a pretty solid defense. They can get after the quarterback. I think both these teams are kind of evenly matched. I think the same way that the Packers and the Lions are evenly matched, I think both of these teams are evenly matched. I think it's just a notch lower, right? That's S tier, the top tier. They're probably like A or B, right? They're a little bit lower. So I'm intrigued to see how well Caleb Williams performs because they have improved, right? He's a young quarterback. Hey, you got to get talent around him, and they've done that. And then I'm interested to see what the other young guy on the other side. There's a lot of young talent in this division at quarterback. Jared Goff being the elder statesman, but everyone else it's relatively young and guys that are still learning, improving. And they got a lot to show this year.
Well, there you have it, folks. As a look at week one. Too bad there's nothing to talk about, right? There's no big games or anything that you may want to stop and pull up a lemonade and enjoy the ball game, or at least peek and see how your favorite team is doing. So we appreciate you being a part of the show. Brian and I will be with you throughout the course of the season. This is our NFL preview. Week number one, the 106th season for the National Football League is about ready to begin. It starts tomorrow night. And as we mentioned, that first game will be with the Dallas Cowboys going to the defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles nest and taking them on at Lincoln Field. So we appreciate you being a part of today's show. For Brian LaBelle, I'm Harper LaBelle saying thank you so much for tuning in. Have a fantastic